The void was silent, a cold, endless stretch of black that swallowed light and hope alike. Across the constellation-fractured sky, the Xyrian fleet glinted like 1,000 predatory eyes, their warships forming an almost perfect crescent around the unknown vessel that drifted at the center. Sensors blinked in rapid succession aboard the Oblivion, the flagship of Admiral Varkthal. Every Xyrian officer aboard felt the prickling of unease, the silent whisper of caution threading through their minds. Why had this primitive species sent only one ship to face an entire armada? No transmission had been received. No warning. The humans didn't even flare a standard distress beacon. They simply appeared. And in that stark isolation, the small human ship, barely larger than a Xyrian fighter, seemed to radiate a confidence that defied reason, a quiet arrogance that made even Varkthal hesitate. Admiral Varkthal's clawed talon hovered over the command panel. He was a veteran of centuries of conquest, a master of strategy honed in a dozen wars across dozens of star systems. And yet, there was something about this human ship that unsettled him. Its hull, scarred and battered, bore marks of previous skirmishes, but it moved with a fluid grace no Xyrian craft had anticipated. "Admiral," hissed Lieutenant KRYSS, his multi-eye gaze flicking over the readings. "Shields are stable, weapons minimal, yet it radiates an energy signature unlike anything we've catalogued." Varkthal's mandibles clicked. "Are you suggesting this creature is dangerous?" KRYSS didn't answer. Even he felt the weight of the unknown pressing in. The void of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the human vessel, a cold, infinite canvas sprinkled with distant stars, shimmering like fragments of shattered glass. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Nathan Harper stood motionless, his hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the distant glint of the approaching Xyrian fleet. The humans had been warned many times, in whispers across intercepted communications and fragmented transmissions from allied colonies, never provoke the Xyrians. They were merciless, efficient, and infinitely numerous. Yet here they were, alone, facing a fleet that could have crushed an entire planetary system. Nathan's jaw was tight, not from fear but focus. Beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Jenkins monitored sensor outputs, her fingers dancing over holographic panels that glowed with a cold blue light. "Sir," she said quietly, voice steady but tense, "the fleet is closing in faster than predicted. Their formation, it's designed to overwhelm. One ship, us, can't possibly survive this." Nathan didn't flinch. He turned slightly, his green eyes catching the reflection of the stars on the polished surface of the bridge console. "That's the point, Lieutenant," he said, his voice low but carrying an unyielding authority. "They see one ship. They assume weakness. They assume we will crumble. But we're not here to fight like they expect. We're here to teach them something they've never seen." A flicker on the sensors made both Nathan and Sarah lean forward. There, ahead in the black expanse, the Xyrian fleet gleamed like a storm of jagged metallic eyes, their ships arranged in a crescent, thousands of them stretching far beyond the edge of the visual spectrum. The flagship, the Oblivion, dwarfed all the others. Its hull shimmered with violet energy shields that pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing, radiating a quiet but oppressive menace. Nathan's hand rested briefly on the control rail, feeling the subtle vibration of the ship's core beneath his feet. The Intrepid was smaller, slower, and older than any of these alien war machines. Its hull bore scars from previous encounters, each scratch and dent a testament to humanity's perseverance. But there was a confidence in its design, a quiet, almost imperceptible hum of latent power, that no Xyrian scanner could fully detect. "Sir," Lieutenant Daniels said from the weapons console, his voice tinged with awe, "our energy output is at maximum. Shields are stable. Weapons primed. But I don't understand. Their sensors, they're still reading us as a minor threat. How is that possible?" Nathan's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Because, Daniels, they've never seen humans like us. And they won't understand until it's too late." Across the void, a pulse of light signaled a transmission. The Xyrian envoy appeared on the main viewscreen, a towering creature with chitinous armor plating, mandibles twitching in irritation, and eyes glowing a deep violet. Its voice reverberated through the bridge, a harsh, guttural tone that made even the crew of seasoned soldiers tense. "Human," it intoned, mandibles clicking sharply. You approach with a single vessel. Explain your intentions, or be destroyed. Nathan stepped closer, his figure calm, almost regal against the backdrop of the swirling galaxy. You see one ship, he said evenly, because that is all you need to see. One ship can tell the whole story. The envoy recoiled slightly, clearly unnerved by the calm audacity in Nathan's voice. This is preposterous. You cannot hope to stand against the Zyrian armada with a single vessel. Do you not understand the scale of your folly? Nathan's eyes narrowed, his voice calm yet cutting. I understand perfectly. You, however, have yet to learn what humans are capable of when they refuse to yield. And you will learn, soon enough. The transmission ended abruptly as the envoy's fury erupted into action. Across the black void, 1,000 ships surged forward, weapons primed, the fleet's formation shifting like a living organism, aiming to surround and crush the lone human vessel. Explosions flared in the distance as targeting sensors locked on, beams of energy streaking across space toward the Intrepid. Evasive pattern Alpha. Nathan ordered, and the ship responded instantly, engines roaring as it twisted and darted through the first volley. The Intrepid moved not with the raw, brute force the Zyrians anticipated, but with a fluid grace that seemed almost unnatural. Missiles arced around its hull, energy blasts scorched the void where it had just been, and yet not a single shot struck true. Lieutenant Jenkins exhaled sharply. Sir, they've never encountered anything like this. Our movement patterns, they can't track us. It's like we're predicting them. Nathan's gaze was fixed on the fleet, scanning every maneuver, every slight adjustment. Not predicting, he corrected, voice firm. Controlling. They'll think they're hunting us, but every move they make, every assumption they rely on, we've anticipated. And that's why one ship is enough. The Intrepid fired back, not with overwhelming force, but with precision. A single pulse from the main cannon tore through the lead destroyer, disabling its engines and severing its communications array. Another shot disabled a wave of targeting drones, sending them spiraling into the void. Every strike was calculated, surgical, and devastating, yet the humans maintained the illusion of vulnerability. Across the fleet, Admiral Varkthal observed from the bridge of the Oblivion. His claws hovered over the command interface, clicking with agitation. He was a veteran of countless wars, a master of strategy, and yet he had never seen anything like this. One human ship is dismantling our formation, he growled, his voice a mixture of disbelief and rage. How can this be? It should be impossible. KRYSS, his second-in-command, didn't answer immediately. He simply stared at the screens, his multifaceted eyes widening. It's intelligence, Admiral. Pure strategy. They're not fighting with numbers, they're fighting with understanding. They know exactly how we think. Varkthal's mandibles clicked sharply. Intelligence is meaningless without power. KRYSS shook his head slowly. Sometimes, intelligence is power. The Intrepid weaved through the growing chaos, moving in ways that defied the Zyrian calculations. Every attack was countered, every flanking maneuver anticipated. The Zyrians, creatures who prided themselves on dominance, now hesitated. Their unified strike faltered, and cracks appeared in the fleet's formation. Panic, subtle at first, began to ripple through the command ranks. Nathan's voice cut through the tension. Status report. Lieutenant Daniel's voice was calm, yet tinged with excitement. Hull integrity stable, sir. No major damage. Enemy systems failing in multiple sectors. They're confused. Nathan's eyes gleamed. Good. Let them be confused. Let them see that their arrogance has limits. In the void beyond, the human ship, so small and insignificant to the eye, was rewriting the rules of engagement. Each calculated maneuver, each precise strike, and each moment of near imperceptible retreat created a lesson that would echo across the galaxy: never underestimate a human. The Zyrian envoy's voice erupted once more through the comms, trembling now with disbelief and anger. This is impossible. One vessel cannot. Nathan pressed a button, cutting the transmission. Let them speak. Let them feel the lesson they've earned. The Intrepid surged forward, a small vessel with the heart and will of 100 fleets, weaving through fire and debris, undeterred, unstoppable in purpose. One ship, one crew, one captain, enough to make the most formidable armada hesitate, to shatter assumptions, and to set the stage for a confrontation that would become legend. And as the stars streaked past in the ship's wake, Nathan Harper allowed himself a brief, quiet smile. One ship. One chance. One lesson. And the universe would remember it. The black canvas of space lit up with deadly light. Plasma beams streaked like jagged lightning across the void, scattering in brilliant arcs as they collided with the Intrepid's shields. Explosions rippled through the outer perimeter of the Zyrian fleet, a symphony of fire and metal against the cold stars. Captain Nathan Harper stood like an anchor in the storm, unshaken by the chaos raging beyond the viewport. The bridge of the Intrepid was alive with movement, panels flashing crimson, alerts sounding as enemy targeting systems locked onto them from every direction. Yet there was no fear in Nathan's eyes, only calculation. Status, he barked. Lieutenant Sarah Jenkins' voice was clear, though sweat glistened on her temple under the glow of the screens. Shields at 79%, holding steady. Their fire patterns are tightening, they're learning from our evasive maneuvers. Then we stay one step ahead, Nathan said. His voice was calm, but the steel in it was unmistakable. Bring up predictive targeting. Daniels, line up their power nodes. I want precision shots, not fireworks. The Intrepid twisted sharply, its thrusters firing in perfect sequence as it spun through a lattice of incoming fire. Enemy plasma struck where the ship had been a second earlier, leaving nothing but darkness in its wake. Firing solution locked. Daniels called out, his hands flying across the weapons console. Fire, Nathan said. The ship's main cannon unleashed a single, blinding lance of energy that cut through the blackness and found its mark, the lead Zyrian destroyer. The beam pierced its shield bubble like a needle through silk, rupturing its hull in a flash of blue fire. The vessel broke apart silently, fragments spinning off into the void, colliding with nearby frigates and sowing chaos in the formation. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Nathan raised a hand sharply. Save it. We've made them bleed, now they'll be desperate. Indeed, aboard the Oblivion, Admiral Varkthal's mandibles clacked furiously. The bridge of the flagship pulsed with alarm tones, Zyrian officers scurrying to adjust formations and recalibrate their targeting arrays. How, Varkthal hissed, his voice dripping with venom, does a single human ship dismantle my destroyers as if they are nothing? KRYSS, his second-in-command, shifted uneasily. They're not fighting us with power, Admiral. They're reading us. Anticipating our movements. It's as though they know what we will do before we do it. Varkthal slammed a claw against the command console, making the deck plates shudder. Then change the pattern. Adapt. KRYSS hesitated, his multi-eyed gaze flicking to the screens. We are adapting. They are adapting faster. On the Intrepid, Nathan's crew watched the ripple of panic begin to spread across the enemy formation. They're staggering, Jenkins said, a note of amazement in her voice. Their response time is slipping. That's when they're most dangerous, Nathan replied. An enemy that's afraid makes mistakes, but also lashes out without thinking. Stay sharp. As if on cue, the Zyrians unleashed their full arsenal. Entire squadrons of attack drones detached from the larger vessels, swarming toward the human ship like a metallic cloud. Dozens of plasma batteries lit up at once, saturating the space around the Intrepid in a deadly crossfire. Brace! Nathan barked. The ship rolled hard to port, shields flaring bright as they absorbed glancing blows. The Intrepid wove through the storm with impossible grace, its engines howling as it corkscrewed past a wall of plasma. Decoy program ready. Jenkins called out. Deploy, Nathan ordered. The Intrepid shimmered and then split into four. 3 perfect holographic duplicates appeared around the ship, scattering outward in different directions. Enemy targeting systems struggled to keep up, firing wildly at the illusions. Dozens of plasma bolts found nothing but empty space, while the real Intrepid slipped through the gaps like a ghost. Targets confused. Daniels shouted. They're wasting munitions. Good, Nathan said, his lips curving into a grim smile. Make them waste more. The Intrepid struck back, each shot carefully chosen. They didn't destroy entire cruisers, just key systems, shield generators, targeting relays, propulsion cores. Every strike left another ship crippled, another section of the armada adrift. Nathan knew the psychological effect was worth more than raw destruction. Sir, Jenkins said softly, her eyes wide, we're not just surviving, we're winning. Nathan's gaze stayed on the viewport, where crippled Zyrian ships floated helplessly. Not yet, he said. We're teaching. Back on the Oblivion, Varkthol's rage boiled over. This is unacceptable, he roared. We are the Armada. We are the fear that conquers the stars. And yet we are made fools by a single primitive craft? KRYSS's mandibles clicked in apprehension. This craft is no primitive vessel, Admiral. It fights like it was born for this. And its captain, he is not fighting to survive. He is fighting to humiliate us. Varkthol turned, his eyes glowing with fury. Then crush them. Order every ship to converge, focus fire. The Zyrian fleet obeyed. The crescent formation folded inward, closing the trap. The Intrepid was now at the center of a noose made of 1,000 ships, every weapon locked, every engine burning hot. Jenkins' voice was tight. They're surrounding us. Every gun they have is aimed right at us. Nathan nodded slowly. Perfect. Daniel's head snapped toward him. Perfect, sir? Nathan turned to face his crew fully. They've committed. Every ship is focused on us, every resource stretched. That means every weakness they have is exposed. We're not running. Not yet. We hold position and let them think they've cornered us. The bridge fell silent for a heartbeat, the weight of the gamble sinking in. They'll fire on us with everything, Jenkins said. Yes, Nathan replied calmly. And when they do, we'll be ready. The seconds stretched into an eternity. The fleet tightened its formation. The void grew still, as if the entire galaxy held its breath. And then, as one, the Zyrian armada unleashed hell. Plasma fire from 1,000 barrels converged on the human ship. The darkness lit up like a newborn star, the explosion of light so intense it blinded sensors for miles. For a moment, it seemed as though the Intrepid had been swallowed whole, vaporized under the sheer weight of the assault. But when the glare faded, the ship was still there untouched. The bridge of the Intrepid was bathed in faint blue light as the shields glowed hot from the impact but held strong. Nathan exhaled slowly. Now, he said, his voice a quiet command that cut through the stunned silence. The Intrepid unleashed its counterstrike, a precise, devastating sequence of shots that ripped through the fleet's coordination. Command relays exploded, engines shut down, shields collapsed. The Zyrian fleet fell into disarray as their own trap became a cage. Nathan watched it all with grim satisfaction. They wanted a war lesson, he murmured. We're giving them one. Silence. For a long, heavy moment, there was no sound but the low hum of the Intrepid's core and the faint crackle of static over the comms. Beyond the viewport, the once mighty Zyrian armada floated in fractured formation, ships adrift, engines failing, shields shattered. The space between them glittered with debris and the slow, cold tumble of crippled drones. Captain Nathan Harper stood at the center of his bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the image of the fleet. His crew watched him, waiting for the next move. Around them, warning panels still glowed red from the last barrage, the scent of scorched circuitry lingering in the air. Status report, Nathan said quietly. Lieutenant Sarah Jenkins' fingers flew across her console, her voice steady despite the lingering tension. Hull integrity is at 90%. Shields are back online and holding. Enemy losses are substantial. At least half their fleet is disabled. The rest are scattering, trying to regroup. Lieutenant Daniels gave a grim smile. Sir, we could finish them right now. One push, one strike at their flagship, and the whole armada is ours for the taking. Nathan didn't turn. His gaze remained locked on the Zyrian formation. No, he said at last. Not yet. We've proved we can win a battle. That's not the lesson we're here to teach. His crew exchanged glances, understanding but uneasy. The temptation to end it, to deliver the killing blow, was strong. But Nathan knew the truth: a destroyed fleet could be replaced. A shattered reputation could not. Open a channel to the flagship, Nathan said. The comm screen lit up, flickering for a moment before stabilizing into the image of Admiral Varkthal. The Zyrian commander's once imposing figure seemed diminished now, his mandibles drawn tight, his multifaceted eyes glinting with rage and something else, something dangerously close to fear. Human, Varkthal hissed. This battle is not over. You have inflicted damage, yes, but the Zyrian armada does not yield. We will rebuild. We will crush you. Nathan stepped forward until his face filled the screen, his presence calm and unflinching. No, Admiral, he said softly, you won't. Varkthal's mandibles flared open. You dare. I dare, Nathan interrupted, his voice suddenly sharp as a blade. You came here expecting an easy victory. You thought humanity would kneel, that we would throw ourselves at your feet and beg for mercy. You thought one ship meant weakness. But you were wrong. One ship is all it takes, because one ship, one crew, one act of defiance is enough to change everything. The Zyrian bridge was silent. Even through the comms, the tension was palpable. Nathan turned slightly, nodding to Jenkins. Transmit the data. Jenkins tapped her console. A pulse of light streaked across space, carrying a packet of information directly to the Oblivion systems. Varkthal glanced down at his own displays as the data unfolded before him, full schematics of every shot fired, every maneuver executed, every decision made. The humans weren't hiding their tactics, they were showing the Zyrians exactly how they had been outplayed. This, Nathan said, is what you failed to understand. You are powerful, yes. You are many. But we are relentless. We learn faster than you can adapt. And next time you face us, there will be no warning, no hesitation. We will not simply disable your ships. We will erase them. Varkthal's mandibles trembled. You would risk war with the Armada? Nathan's gaze was unwavering. We don't risk war, Admiral. We survive it. And we win it. This was your chance to learn that without losing everything. The comm cut out abruptly, leaving only the silence of the bridge. Captain, Jenkins said softly, they're not firing. Not even trying to pursue. Nathan allowed himself a slow breath. Good. Then they're listening. But the Zyrians weren't entirely still. On the Oblivion's bridge, Varkthal stared at the transmitted data long after the human transmission ended. KRYSS approached cautiously, his multi-eye gaze flicking over the glowing screens. They are warning us, KRYSS said quietly. No, Varkthal murmured, almost to himself. They are teaching us. He looked back at the drifting wrecks of his fleet. For the first time in centuries of conquest, he felt something he had not felt since he was a hatchling warrior facing his first battle, doubt. Order the retreat, Varkthal said at last. We will regroup. And we will remember. Across the void, the Zyrian ships began to withdraw, their formations loose, hesitant. It was not a tactical retreat, it was something closer to respect. On the Intrepid's bridge, Lieutenant Daniels stared at the displays. Sir, they're leaving. Nathan nodded. Good. The tension on the bridge broke like a snapped wire. Jenkins sank back into her chair with a relieved laugh, Daniels grinned openly, and the crew allowed themselves a moment to breathe. But Nathan remained standing, his eyes still fixed on the stars. They'll be back, he said quietly. Jenkins glanced at him. Then why let them go? Nathan's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. Because when they come back, they'll think twice. And that hesitation, that's worth more than 1,000 wrecked ships. He turned from the viewport, his voice carrying across the bridge. Set a course for home. Let's take this message back to Earth. The Intrepid's engines flared to life, the ship pivoting gracefully as it turned away from the wreckage. The stars stretched into brilliant lines as the jump drive engaged, and in a flash, the lone human vessel disappeared into the infinite dark. Behind them, in the quiet aftermath of battle, the Xyrian fleet remained still, licking its wounds and pondering the unthinkable. One ship had faced them, had defied them, and had won. Across the galaxy, word would spread. Rumors would grow. The legend of the intrepid, and of the humans who refused to kneel, would take root in the minds of friend and foe alike. And whenever another species looked at Earth and asked that fateful question, "Why do the humans face us with only one ship?" the answer would echo through the stars.